And we've gathered here again today, and it's Doctor Who night. Yes, it's that time of the month, and we will be talking about the first story of Trial of a Time Lord, and it's the mysterious planet. Now let's go straight to our local librarian, Harry. See what he makes
Greetings,
of this.
one and all. And I gotta say, this one story that I hate to say it, but this one whole arc that you're gonna be seeing me doing something I rarely do, and that is getting on a soapbox about this whole, not just Mysterious Planet, but Trial of a Time Lord in general. Well, the book is good. It's Terrence Dicks doing an adaptation of a Robert Holmes story, and it's a great book. I mean, when Terrence Dicks is working on a Robert Holmes story, you know you're going to be in for a treat. But as far as the whole Trial of a Time Lord, you're basically seeing both sides in this whole series, not just from Mysterious Planet, but the whole thing in general. You have not only the Doctor on trial in the show, but the show on trial as well with the powers in charge in the BBC. You had Grade and Powell, basically, Michael Grade and Jonathan Powell saying that the show needed to be rested. They felt that the ratings were down. The violence in the previous Colin Baker season was such that it just turned off audiences. They felt that the 13 by 45 minute format experiment was a failure. They felt that the show needed not just be rested, the show needed to be canceled. And John Nathan Turner and Sayward were able to convince Grade to give them another season. Grade gave them the season, but he put restrictions on it. First off, 45-minute format, out the door. You're going back to the old 25-minute format. Instead of having the way the format was the previous season with 14 episodes, you're cut down to 13 episodes, you're cut down to 14 25-minute episodes. All the plans that were made for Return of the Monster, Singapore, or Celestial Toymaker, all those plans tossed out the door. So Sayward had to go out and recruit all new writers. So he brought in two folks they knew could do well. Martin, Robert Holmes. Holmes originally suggested that they do the 14 seasons as follows. First season, the Doctor is announced he is going to be put on trial. 3 stories, past, present, future. Final story, the verdict. All that got junked by John Nathan Turner. J&T instead involved the whole Trial of a Time Lord. 4 stories, 3 4-part stories, and 1 2-part story. Robert Holmes did the first story and was assisting on the second one when he passed away. But it caused a major uproar in the whole show. Grade was constantly editing and sending feedback back on the stories, saying, this had to be changed, this had to be changed. Example, the interaction between the Doctor and the Valeyard. He basically rewrote the whole thing. It just caused so much trouble that by Terror of the Vervoids, Eric Sayward quit. And by Ultimate Foe, Colin Baker was fired. Now, as I said, the story is a good one. I'd suggest if you haven't already gotten trial, get it, get the books, get the 2 Doctors, because these are the last 2 stories that Robert Holmes did. Get them, find them. You're not going to go wrong with them. And that's all I've got to say, at least for the moment.
Thank you for that, Harry. I thought you were going to go on your soapbox as well. I was Let's go to Beef Dad. See what Beef Dad makes of this story.
I really enjoyed Trial of a Time Lord. I thought there were some wonderful performances in it. And some of them have become absolutely legendary, like Michael Jaston playing the Valeyard. Linda Bellingham was incredibly good as the Inquisitor. Tony Selby playing Sablon Glitz. And Joni Sims playing Queen Catricia. I mean, they were just so good. And I quite like Dibber. It's always handy to have a bit of a plonker around. And
we got a few of them.
He worked very well at it. I like the stories. The idea of Nicola Bryant, bless her, playing Perry, being captured by the tribe and then informed that she will have several husbands, not just one, but many husbands, and then she locks Perry in a cell with Glitz and Dibber. I mean, the whole thing about Glitz is he's there to try and steal stuff. He's a bit of a mercenary, and as I say, he has his assistant. But you've got the black light generator, which provides power for the robot. It's quite a cool robot, actually. It's a little bit out of the norm, shall we say, for a robot, which is, for me, quite good. And I thought that worked. The Dratho, isn't it? Yes, Dratho. And basically the fights and the arguments all work so well for me. And Harry's talked about following on stories. I mean, one of the most famous follow-on stories at the end is the last one, where the Doctor is in the Matrix, and that is just brilliant. Fighting the Master, and you find out where all the crap comes from that is being dumped on the Doctor. So it's really good.
Yep, thanks for that, Beef Dad. Let's go to Lee.
Right.
What was that?
Where well, no, it's got its good points, but it's also got its bad points.
It's crap, isn't it?
It's
that's what you want to say.
no, stop putting words in my mouth. Right, as Beef Dad has mentioned, good characters in this. Sabalon, brilliant character. I wish Big Finish would bring him back in audio, because Tony Selby's still with us. Valeyard, brilliant character, but he can only work with the Sixth. And they have done it. Big Finish have done a lot with the Valeyard on audio, but you cannot work. The Valeyard will not work with any of the Doctors because he is the dark side of the Sixth. So that's what I mean. So he'll never come back. Linda Bellingham, brilliant portrayal. You would say that characters are okay. For me, the letdown is the writing. This is what Colin Baker's era had suffered from so badly, was bad scripts. And Robert Holmes, don't get me wrong, Robert Holmes is a brilliant writer, but this was his final swan song, shall we say, for Doctor Who. and to me, it's not one of his best stories. And it's very, very reminiscent of his very first story for Doctor Who, The Crotons. It's got a robot picking on the savages, taking the intelligent people to work for him. Sort of similar lines of The Crotons. For me, it spent too much time wandering around in the forest, wandering up and down a corridor, and it didn't seem to go anywhere. The design of Drathro, I don't know. I did notice he was too big to get through them doors. I don't know. The sets were but I think they built the sets first, and then they realised, well, look at the size of this bloody robot. No conferring, you see. They don't communicate. But what I said to Ali the other day about this is, if you was a 12-year-old kid watching this back then, you wouldn't know what a trial would be in a court scene. It would be all confusing to you. All the trial talk, all the backwards and forwards. It was for younger viewers, that would be confusing. So I can see what they were trying to do, but for me, it didn't work. The whole season for me just didn't gel right. I agree with Beef Dad. The final 2 episodes of the season is the best of the season, but for me, the whole season just didn't seem to gel right. And to me, it's the bad writing. I blame Eric Saywood, a very, very bad script editor. What can I say? But it is what it is. It's the beginning of the season, and for me, I would have preferred something with a bit more oomph, with a bit more bang to begin the season with. The first few minutes of the episode with the space station, that is so epic and awesome. Why couldn't the rest of the season be like that? But as people said, that's where all the money went. Yeah, that's it. My opening thoughts for now.
Yeah, it is a bit of a downgrade when you see that epic opening scene and then you get to the episode. The problem with the episode is it's so dull. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing great about it. There's nothing memorable about it. It's just very bland and it's very boring. Now, I understand that they needed to make Perry and the Sixth Doctor more friendly towards each other, which they are. But the whole episode is just dull. It's dull. I mean, the trial scenes, Linda Bellingham is great. And the Valeyard, I do like the Valeyard, but I felt the trial scenes just got in the way of the story. Like, you'd be watching the episode and then it would just cut back to the trial scene, and then it goes back to the episode, then it goes back to the trial scene, and I found that gets in the way. I think they did that really shoddy. I don't think that was done well at all. The story itself, it's just badly written. It is badly written. I mean, for Robert Holmes, Lee's compared this to the Crotons, but the Crotons is better by far. And that's partly because it's got Patrick Troughton and his TARDIS team. That's partly due to that. But this episode, the robots are rubbish, I think. Especially that one that went outside on those tread wheels. That just looks stupid. And then you got the cliffhanger with it. And then you got the main robot, which Beef Dad says is a good design. I don't think it's a good design, really, particularly. The sets, Yeah, the sets were dull. The sets weren't great. The costumes as well, I didn't like. They just had like, they looked like if they'd been paintballing with those helmets on. You know, because they got like splashes of green paint and all that. It just looked ridiculous.
Well, those helmets have mostly done the rounds. They've mostly been in Blake 7, 2 seasons before in Doctor Who or wherever. They've just repainted them and reused them. That's what they
Yeah,
do.
I think that as well. Yeah, that's what they've done. But they spent so much money on the opening titles, didn't they? In the with the TARDIS. That's what they done. The only thing I can say good about this episode is Glitz and Dibber and the rest of the characters. I do think the characters are Robert Holmes' characters. He does write characters well, but the story is not great.
Well,
And
part of
maybe
the
the
problem
story
with the
is done. Hey,
part of the problem is that, as you mentioned, it was, you got a lot of comparisons to Croton's Hit, yes, but you also had to remember that in the final episode, final 2-part story, Holmes was supposed to have written that.
yes, he
But
was.
he
Yeah.
died before he
He
even
died.
do anything. That's why I got dumped on the Bakers. He was already working with Sayward on the finale when he passed away. So that's why everything got dumped on the Bakers. In fact, the Bakers were not even supposed to have been involved in this, but they got roped in when some of the other writers that Sayward wanted to bring in declined to come work in on the show.
Yeah, I mean, my 2 favorite stories of Trial of the Time Lords is the last 2. But yeah, this one's just not a great start to the season. And as Harry said, the show was on trial at the time of this airing. You know, the show was also on trial whether it should continue or be axed. And of course, Colin Baker, they get rid of him. You never see him again after this. After this season. And I kind of know, I kind of understand that. I mean, Colin is not great in this, but that's because of the script. I feel like he's very shouty a lot, and that can work, but that can only work if you have the right director and the right scripts. Otherwise, it just comes across as ridiculous. Calling the Valeyard graveyard and things like that, I just felt that was a bit too childish myself. Anyway, let's go to favourite moments. Let's be positive for a moment here. Let's go to Harry for favourite moments.
If I had to choose a favorite moment from the show, from this first story, I'd have to say it was the opening sequence. The whole gigantic spaceship in the graveyard. All of a sudden, the power of the Time Lords, their energy, drawing the TARDIS in and everything. The Doctor showing up. It's like, no, I'm not going to knock on the door. I'm just going to go in and see what's going on. It epitomizes the 6th Doctor. And that is probably the best scene in the whole start of Trial of Time Lord. Or for me.
But the problem is with that, if they'd spent the money on the sets instead of that opening sequence, they should have just done that as a average model shot, like they've done millions of times before. Then they could have allocated that money to actually making the trial set look better, because I don't think the trial set looks great. They just could have put that money into making the whole episode or the whole serial look better.
They spent something like 40,000, 50,000 pounds on that opening shot.
Oh no, it's ridiculous.
I mean, that's a lot. They're just not used to spending. They weren't used to spending that much money on something like that.
Yeah.
You use standard sets after that. I gotta agree with you somewhat there, Alan. They could have allocated the money a little bit better.
Yeah. Let's go to Beef Dad for favourite moments anyway.
Yeah, obviously the opening is brilliant. I quite like the bit where the Doctor has a go at the Valeyard and Linda Bellingham tries to calm everything down. It's a really good scene. But yeah, as you were saying, the thing about Colin Baker in this is he tended to be a bit on the shouty side, but I will put that down to the direction and the script, because it's basically it's not what he's like. He wasn't always like that. And getting angry with Perry, you know, but Perry never does what I tell her to. That's not always been the case, but yeah, I quite enjoy the face downs between Colin Baker and the Valeyard. Michael Chaston he seems to have a naturally sinister look about him, which works very, very well for the part. And of course, Linda Bellingham in that costume, you know, you've sort of talked down the costumes, but the costume that Linda Bellingham wears is just absolutely extraordinary. And yes, the explosion at the end, I quite like that. That was pretty good. You know me, I like a good bang. And that's it for me.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Beef Dad. Thanks for sharing that. Lee, do you like a good bang at the end?
What is this? Is this Carry On Doctor Who?
Do you like a good bang at the end, Lee?
I like a good bang anytime. What was I going to say? Yeah, yeah. As I've said, yeah, the Valeyard, brilliant characterization by Michael Chaston. One of the favourite moments is I can't remember the character's name, but the Doctor's talking to the guy. He's all chained up, and he's talking about the 3 books. That's good writing. Moby Dick, The Water Babies. That is, you know, only 3 books in existence, and they're the only ones, and they go by that.
Balazar.
That was him, yeah. But then, you see, that's a good scene. But then you go to one of the bad scenes, is the stoning. That is just really badly done. It's one of the worst in Doctor Who history, I would say. That will also go with the cliffhanger with Sylvester McCoy hanging off a cliff on his umbrella.
I think it looks so stupid.
It looks so forced.
It really does
It looked forced. The way it just and he just goes down. And I thought, no.
Yeah, I mean they're only paper mache, you know, polyester. Yeah. I mean, it's obvious they're not real bricks. They would actually destroy the umbrella.
But for me, the highlight of this one, I mean, as Beef said, the backwards and forwards from the Valeyard and the Doctor, yes, but the highlight for me is the backwards and forwards conversation with Dibber and Glitz, where they're just talking and making a bit of grop-sits. You know what I mean? And also Joan Sims, she wasn't really known for doing science fiction and stuff like that. You know, she was one of the Carry On team.
Was she in Carry On?
Oh yeah,
that's where I recognise her from. I thought I recognised her from somewhere. I didn't realise. I thought I recognised her.
Yeah, she was in quite a few Carry-Ons in a day.
Oh, that's it then.
But I would put that one down casting to GNT.
Yeah, he always used to get.
If he could get a comedian or cabaret artist in Doctor Who, he would. But that's just him. That was in his blood, because he lived and breathed cabaret.
Panto and everything. He loved.
Oh yeah. And you've got to be thankful for JNT to keeping the show alive for as long as he did.
I don't know. We'll have to ask Harry on that.
But no, what I'm saying is, if it wasn't for JNT, the show would have been axed 3 years before, because nobody else wanted the job. JNT wanted to leave. Nobody else would take that job. So he was stuck with it. He did his best he could with the awful scripts what was given to him. And he said he hired Colin Baker, and he also had to fire him. So I didn't envy him in that. He was told to
have gone with Sydney Newman's idea at the time, which is a female Time Lord.
Well, you can. Well, how successful has that been? Ratings, right? What was I saying?
Do you know the ratings of this? What this used to get?
It was 4 point something.
Yeah, it was about 3 to 4 million. Yeah.
But
it's getting better than it did back then, folks.
Well, I don't know. I think there was more excitement in these ones than there have been in the last season, hasn't there? But going by all the reviews,
more excitement in this.
Well, that's what I've heard.
Joking.
Anyway, yeah, but
I've seen more excitement in corpses than that episode.
What else was I saying? Look, I've drifted off now. What was I saying?
I don't know. I don't listen to anything you say. What was he saying, Harry?
He was talking about JNT.
JNT, that was it. It was JNT.
Colin would have been shown axe sooner if he hadn't stayed around and such.
Yeah, because nobody else wanted to do the job, so he had to hire Sylvester McCoy. Admittedly, Sylvester McCoy's first season was pretty poor.
Crap, yeah.
Yeah, but his second and third season, with
brilliant,
the involvement of Andrew Cartmel, wow.
He's the guy that turned it around. Andrew Cartmel.
So we've got to be thankful for JNT's involvement, and he was behind the show, but he wanted to leave as well. But what can you do? That's my say anyway.
Oh, have you finished? Oh, you're picking some bad habits off Alex, Alex is having a very bad influence on you. Yeah, like everyone has said, I think Glitz and Dibber are the best in this, and the other characters. And in elements, the writing is good, but overall the story is not good. And the stoning scene, I can understand how that would look good on paper. And it should have looked, because it's not a difficult thing to do if you think about it. But the problem is the lighting was all wrong because it was too well lit. So it made it even look more ridiculous. And the whole set did not suit it. The set didn't suit it, and it was the camera angle and things like that. It just didn't work. It just looked ridiculous. But I do like the underground, how they did the underground. I thought that was good. No one's mentioned the underground yet.
Can I say something?
What?
There was in a well-lit underground, but why did they have all pale skins like they'd been in the dark for years?
There you
Just
go.
thought-
There's a mystery for
It was just all,
Rope
just
wasn't
Right, so we might as well move to final say and score. Let's go to Beef Dad munching on his Werther's originals there.
most enjoyable. As I said, I loved some of the performances. And yeah, Joni Sims, yeah, she was in Carry On. She did 24 of them. Yeah, I thought the guy who did Balazar, well, he made me laugh. And yeah, as I say, the Big Bang at the end was good. Score, it goes for 8.5.
Oh, 8.5, not bad. Let's go to Harry.
Well, all I can say is what I've said about it so far. This whole storyline had potential, but with Graydon Powell mucking everything up, causing problems in it, causing Saber to give it a lot of thought to whether or not he was actually worth his while and everything. I'd give the story a rating of a 7, but the book, Terrence Stick's novelization, that's a 9. I mean, you're talking a combo. You normally cannot go wrong with a Terrence Stick's Robert Holmes combo because those two worked so well hand in hand for so many years. You want to talk about someone who done a bang-up job of novelizations, get yourself a Terrence Stick's book. You're not going to be disappointed, especially if it's a story that was written by Robert Holmes. You're not going to go wrong with that.
Now, for those who are new to the channel, Harry really loves his dicks. He really does, doesn't he, Lee?
They say nobody's done more novelizations for the story, for the history of the show than Terrence Stick's. Nobody. Even with the new adventure book.
Dad loves a good bang.
Man knows his stuff. Former script editor and everything. You want to talk about a man who knows the ins and outs of the show. It's Terrence Stick's.
I got to be honest. I thought Terrence Stick's era on the show was the worst.
Ooh.
I thought he was awful.
No.
Every single story.
Where's my hammer? Where's my ball peen hammer?
I'm only joking. I think it's JNT. No, it's Moffat. Let's not bring him up. Let's go to Lee for final say and score.
Yeah, good characterizations. Poor script. Settings, the scenery, not very good. I'm going to give 6 a 6.
Yeah, and as you said, settings as well. There was nothing really special. I know it was filmed out. A lot was filmed outdoors, but it was just woods and stuff like that.
I think it was filmed on Hampstead Heath.
Yeah, yeah, it probably was. Yeah. There's just nothing great about it. No, I think I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a 5. That's as much that I can get. That's as much as I can give it, and it's only getting a 5 really because it's a Robert Holmes story, and it's the last story, of course, that he did, because sadly he died before he could write the final to this series.
Maybe his writing was poor in this because he was ill at the time.
Yeah, I got a funny feeling that
maybe he wasn't putting it 100% in because things was happening in his life.
Yeah. How old was he when he died, by the way? Does anybody know? How old was he when he died?
One thing did come out over the years is that what Robert wanted to do for the finale was that he wanted to have a battle in the Matrix between the Doctor and the Valeyard, and that's how the whole trial was supposed to end. We were supposed to be left in limbo wondering who was going to come out on top and everything. And we just sadly never got around to seeing that because with Robert Holmes' death and everything, it just threw the whole thing into chaos.
60.
60? God, that's quite young. I thought he was a lot older than that when he died.
Yeah, 60 he was. Died on the 24th of May, 1986.
Oh, so coming up soon then.
Mm.
Oh, 24th of May. No, that's for somebody else. Let's not go down there.
Maybe we should do around the time anniversary of his death. Maybe we should do pick a tribute to Robert Holmes around that time.
No, don't be so silly. Let's move on. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me, even Harry. I'd like to thank you for watching. Tell us below what you made of the mysterious planet. And anything else? Doctor Who, look after yourself, take care, and we will see you next time. He's still recording your end, Lee. He doesn't know how to turn it off.